What's up, y'all? Once again, another video courtesy of We Be the Armstrongs. And on this one, we want to speak about success, being rich, wealth, the formula, the secret to becoming rich and wealthy. And it's going to sound real crazy and it's going to sound too simple to be true, but there is a formula to becoming rich. And the formula is very, very simple. And I think had most of us known this at an earlier age, we would be very well off in life. But this is something that the rich people know, and they teach their kids. And we, I'm not going to say we, but I say the less fortunate don't know this small, simple secret to getting ahead in life. And it's very, very simple. And once you learn this secret, it's never too late. But sometimes we made mistakes in life or was financially illiterate and didn't know certain things. So we may have dug ourselves into certain debts or certain things that make it a little harder for us to just put this formula to work at the time. But once you learn this formula and you know the formula, that's the goal, is to put the formula to work. So it's simple. And the simple thing is to have more income than expenses and more assets than liabilities. That's the formula. That's the key. That's the trick to being successful and rich. More income than expenses and more assets than liabilities. So, first and foremost, understand what an asset is and what a liability is. Now, a lot of people want to argue and they'll debate this, but your house is not an asset. The banks will tell you it's an asset, but your house is not an asset. An asset is something that will generate and bring you money. It is when money works for you. An asset is. A liability is something that requires you to put money into. It requires money to stay up, to sustain. Whereas an asset feeds itself. So to make this simpler, let's say a house is a liability. You constantly have to put money into a house in order for this house to thrive and to sustain. In order for this house to stay up and to maintain its value, you have to keep constantly putting money into the house. Therefore, it becomes a liability. It becomes a responsibility that you constantly have to put money into. Now, if this house, on the other hand, if it was real estate and you wasn't living in this house and this house was used as rental income and it was bringing money to you and it was paying for itself, it will become an asset. So just simply owning a house and living in a house and paying a mortgage for 30 years and hoping that you live to see the day that you pay that mortgage off and hoping that you have equity in the house or whatever, that is not an asset because it constantly costs you money to put into this house. This house is not making you any money. So therefore, you have to know the difference between an asset and a liability. And everybody know what income and expenses are. You have to keep your income way higher than your expenses. The moment your expenses are over your income, the formula will not work for you. You would it's simple math. You're in the negative. So the key to making this formula work is to have more income than expenses. You take this extra income and you buy assets instead of liabilities. So when you buy an asset, this asset will then pay you and become more income. So you have more income coming in and it's well over your expenses. So now that you have more income coming in, you have more money to buy more assets. And the more assets you buy, the more income you have coming in. Well, a lot of people, we make the biggest mistake is I wouldn't say taught we were kind of trained or misled into living above our means, trying to keep up with the Joneses. So we have our expenses exceeding our income. So we have no extra money to buy assets. And when we do, some people have more income than expenses, but they take the extra income and they buy liabilities. So they're constantly just spending money on this liability. So if you have an extra money and you decide, I want to go buy a house, because the banks and society in America has tricked you into thinking that's a good investment, a good asset, in reality it's not, because you'll constantly take your income and be dumping it into this house, constantly putting the roof on it, constantly paying the mortgage, paying this, insurance, paying this. It's constantly costing you money. It's not gaining you any money off of it. So it is not an asset. Had you took the money from this extra income and bought an asset or an investment, now that's a whole nother topic, a whole nother video. You choose what investment that you feel is best for you. There's several different kind of investments that become assets, whether it's stocks, bonds, real estate, business. There's several things that can become an asset, things that can make money for you. Just putting your money in the place and learning to make your money work for you instead of working for money. That's the goal in life, and that's part of the formula. The goal is to make your money work for you instead of working for money. And the way to do that is to have more assets than liability and more income than expenses. And it's that simple.